You've seen him, you've known him, and you maybe love him depending if you play BT11 and BT12. Wargreymon, the mascot Digimon of the franchise, along with Metal Garurumon, and in the card game has a pretty good history in the competitive scene, but recently has really done much as a tribal deck. Despite the lack of meta relevance, Greymon decks still consistently get support that can give the deck huge advantages, whether by blocking or through aggression, and sometimes a new alternative playstyle. Now, for this video, I will only focus on the Wargreymon and Black Wargreymon cards and any relation to that, as the Greymon name has two main diverse playstyles that not only will make this video longer than the Grand Canyon, but will miss the point of the video as I only want to talk about these specific type of cards. If you want to see a video about cards like Shine Greymon Blue Flare, go ahead and comment down below so I can see and maybe do one in the foreseeable future. With that out of the way, let's see what went wrong with the Wargreymon Toolbox deck. Since this deck has a large, if not the largest roster of cards that can be considered for a Greymon deck, I will only talk about the relevant cards of the deck, at least 3 for each stage and card type. However, I will mention some honorable mentions along the way for Greymon cards, as there's a lot of flexible engines that can be used to promote different multiple playstyles. Finally, I can start the card explanation segment with a Digi-Egg, starting with BT5 Koromon. Ironic, the first Digi-Egg I talk about is the most popular one. Koromon here just reads, inherent effect, when attacking, once per turn, if this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, draw 1. Yeah, an easy staple to this day, as this card is just a free draw 1 in any Greymon deck. The only reason you wouldn't use it if you're going for a black engine. Next, we got BT9 Koromon, who reads, inherent effect, your turn, while this Digimon has Agumon or Greymon in its name, gain 1k DP. Also a pretty good card, especially at this moment if you want to focus on more power than drawing. Both are good choices, but the only reason this card might see play is if you're playing an Agumon deck, since this card also emphasizes on Agumon. But still a good run in the Greymon deck, especially when there are decks that can reach over 20k DP. Finally, we got S-15 Koromon, who reads, inherent effect, all turns, once per turn. When attack target is switched, this Digimon gains 1k DP for the turn. So mostly this card is seen play if you play a black core based Greymon deck, or just a black core deck that focuses on blocking. But thanks to the new recent support I will cover later, this egg has slowly gotten better throughout its lifespan. Being an all turns effect makes it a possible prompt for your opponent, as if you block or switch their attacks, or we just raid to a target, it's actually not that bad. And again, all turns, so it actually is a little bit better than the BT9 Koromon. That's pretty much it for the Koromons, with the exception of BT14 Koromon, but isn't very necessary here since we got BT5 Korra, who in this case does essentially the same thing but better. Since BT14 needs to actually check a security, or a security needs to be removed to get your draw 1. He's just better for a generic red deck. Moving on to the Agumons of the deck, starting with BT12 Agumon, who evos for 1 on a black egg or 0 on a Koromon with a play cost of 3, who reads, on play, reveal the top 4 cards to your deck. Add 1 Digimon, Greymon, or Omnimon in its name, and 1 Tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck. Inheritance, all turns, while this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name, gain 1k DP. Yeah, this is a mandatory 4 in the deck, as the main searcher that can search for Greymon or Omnimon and 1 Tai. And the all turns 1k DP just to make sure your stack can be threatening on both turns for both aggression and control. So yeah, just run it. Next, we got BT Agumon with an evo of 0 on any red egg and Koromon, and just a cost of 3 to play. Who reads, start your main phase, if you have a Tamer Tai Kamiya in his name, this Digimon may Digivolve into Greymon in your hand without paying the cost. Inheritance, your turn while this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon's name, it gets 2k DP. And I think this is the best Agumon in the deck. For most part, mandatory 4 copies, especially in the red base deck, as a free evo to Greymon is no laughing matter and can save just the memory so you can reach your mega immediately right after you move up. However, you can only Digivolve into Greymon specific, not Greymon name, so no shenanigans going into Geo Greymon or Greymon X. Finally, we got ST Agumon with a 0 cost on the black egg or on Koromon, and a play cost of 3 to play. Who reads, start main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1 memory. Inheritance, all turns, once per turn, when an attack target is switched, gain 1 memory. So, the only reason I want to mention this card is mostly due to the current direction Greymon has been going to, and an easy memory gate can help extend your turns or steal your turns from your opponent. Also, just a generally good black Agumon to run. Those are the 3 ones to go over, but here are some honorable mentions depending on the color build or style you want to focus on. We have 2 Agumon X's depending on which color you want to focus on that can help search for further pieces, as BT9 lacks an inheritance while BT11 is a cost 4 to play for some reason. It's the old game style the game used to have. Still, at least 2 copies in the deck, depending on which color you go for. We also got BT5, EX1, and the promo here for who each saw play in the past events. BT5 was one of the best searchers, but with BT12 now, it's just obsolete, unless you want another searcher. By that point, you just run one of the Agu X's. EX1 inherited was mostly used in early Greymon decks and Agumon decks. Easy way to search Tai, and later on play out a new Agu or Tai. But now it's mostly used in the Tyrannomon deck, but might see more play thanks to a combo with EX1 Greymon and EX9 Metal Greymon Alteris mode. More on that later. Then promo Agumon for that extra 2k DP, and will only see play if you run a red core deck, but for the most part has been replaced by BT14 Agumon, who has the same inheritance, just this time he has an actual effect. Moving on to the Greymon, starting with BT12 Greymon with a play cost of 5 and an evo for 3 on black, or 2 on Agumon in name, who reads, when digivolving, if you don't have a tamer with Tai Kamiya in his name, you may play 1 tamer with Tai Kamiya in his name from your hand without paying its cost. Inheritance, all turns while this Digimon is Greymon or Omnimon in his name, gain 1k DP. This is unfortunately our only way to play Tais for free, as we have yet to get an update early tamer like current decks. But he does the job. Easy 3 copies just to become a vanilla card once you get Tai out. Next, we got BT11 Greymon X, who is a play cost of 5 and evo for 3 on red or black, but he's also a 0 cost on a Greymon, who reads, your turn. When this Digimon would digivolve into a card with Greymon in its name, reduce the evo cost by 1 for each of that card's color. Inheritance. All turns when this Digimon with Greymon or Omnimon in its name would be deleted or returned to your hand or deck by an effect by placing 1 X antibody from this Digimon's evolution sources as the bottom of its owner's deck, prevent this Digimon from leaving play. And we found out why Black Wargreymon was once a competitive beast in the game. This card alone lets you turbo into your Metal Greymon for evo cost of 1 or 2 if you're playing BT8 Metal Grey at the time, then play into your Megas just to power through your opponent's security. Plus, that protection was once one of the most annoying things to get around, as removing Digimon was as inconsistent as it is now. Because of this, this card is a mandatory single copy, as you can only play 1 copy in a deck, thanks to being limited. Next, we got Starter Deck 15 Greymon, with a play cost of 6 and an evo for 2 on any black rookie or Agumon in name, who reads, security. You may play 1 Agumon or Tamer with Tai Kamiya's name from your hand or trash without paying cost, and this card has blocker. Inheritance, all turns, once per turn, when attack target is switched, gain 1 memory. If you notice, these black Greymon cards can actually play with the red line and possibly have some good synergy with the decks. A security effect isn't relevant these days, but a free Tai Agumon from hand or trash can possibly save you the game along with Inheritance once you climb higher. There are way more Greymon cards here, and each is honestly good in their own right. For red OTK decks, Starter Deck 1, BT5, BT9, and BT14 are used for high DP and extra security checks for massive damage and protection in case security bombs or Digimon effects. For black control decks, we got BT8 and BT21 Greymons, who can taunt and force your opponent to attack in the beginning on their main phase so you can block while having reboot. However, BT8 is kind of unnecessary now thanks to BT12 Tai giving blockers to every Greymon in existence, but if you're missing BT12 Tai, you run this as a single copy. Easy way to give a red Mega Greymon blocker. Then, a final mention to BT17 Greymon, who is absolutely amazing, but only really works for Agumon deck, and decks that run this guy in a Greymon deck, you have to build around him. Still, a potential 10k DP Greymon and potential free Tamer or Hatch can easily turn the game in your favor. Again, you'll have to build around this guy though. Next, we got our level 5, starting with BT12 Metal Greymon. Evo cost on 4 on a black level 4 or 3 on a level 4 Greymon name. He has raid and reads all turns, once per turn. When an attack target is switched, you may play 1 black or red Tamer with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its cost. Inheritance, Your turn, while this Digimon is Greymon or Omnimon's name, it gains Piercing. By far one of the best level 5s in the tribal deck back at BT12. An ability to play a free red or black tamer whenever an attack is switched is great for this guy, thanks to having raid, and you can easily make a combo with the right ties to gain more power or Evo for cheaper. Mostly run this as your main Metal Greymon for the deck, but there have been some new Metal Greymons that could potentially replace him. Next, we got EX9 Metal Greymon with a play cost of 7 and an Evo for 4 on a black or red level 4, or 3 on a DM trait or Greymon name. He reads, when this card will be played, by trashing one Cyborg or version 1 trait card from your hand, reduce the play cost by 2. On play, when Digivolving, by placing one Digimon card from your trash face down as this Digimon's bottom evolution sources, delete up to 5k DP total worth to your opponent's Digimon. For each of this Digimon's face down Digivolution sources, add 2k to this effect's DP maximum. Inheritance, Security Attack +1. Damn, finally a new form of removal for this deck before the Megas. The ability to pop at least 7k DP helps kill early level 5s or multiple weaker Digimon, but you need to slide a Digimon from your trash to prop this, so that kind of sucks. But you might be able to prop it if you trash another Metal Greymon if you do the whole play cost reduction thing. But hey, Security Attack +1 is pretty good, especially for how the deck is evolving to. Next, we got the same set, EX9 Alteris mode, with a play cost of 8 and the Evo cost of 4 for any red or black level 4, but a cost of 1 on a Metal Greymon, or a cost of 3 on a Greymon in name, or a Venture trait, which reads, on play, when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 8k DP or less. Your turn, when any of your Digimon or Tamers with Guru or Tai Kamiya in their names are played, or any of your Digimon Digivolve into a Digimon with Garurumon in its name, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon with a Greymon in its name in the hand without paying the cost. Inheritance, your turn, this Digimon gains 4k DP. And if it wasn't for the recent support, I would say this is the best level 5 for the deck. Popping an 8k DP helps, but that effect for just the Evo for free by playing a Guru or Tai, specifically the Tai in this case, to go to your Greymon Mega that can make an Evo immediately threat, as a good chunk of the Mega Greymons can attack after they evolve. Also, a combo with EX1 Greymon from earlier can just make a free Evo without hard playing the Tais. The problem with this is that the tie needs to be a cost of 3 and in your hand to work, as it can be kind of janky. Also, if your Digimon has raid or gains raid, you will not be able to raid, as raid activates whenever you declare an attack. At times, most of the best Greymons already attack when they evo, so it's just a weird interaction, but some are still good with the combo like BT12 or Wargreymon. The following Metal Greys are some to consider depending on the deck or maybe certain budget options. The 2x antibodies are mostly a must-have depending if you're doing a pure red for more aggression in terms of DP and damage, but he lacks Terrans. While the BT11 one can give you protection from de-digivolving and DP reduction, and a possible pop on a 6k DP or less, with an actual powerful inheritance to trash your opponent's top security if any Digimon unsuspends in your opponent's turn. The flaw with this guy though, it's a cost of 4 if you don't have a Metal Grey on board, but is an incredible choice depending on your strategy and a meta easy considered card. Then we got the promo Alteris mode, who doesn't have a good Evo effect, but is mostly important due to the inheritance to give a decent protection on, which is the same as the Greymon X from earlier. But this depends on what you want to make as a level 5 space is thin. What's funny though is due to this card's wording, it's still treated as a Metal Greymon, so you can stack on top of him and an X evo into Metal Grey X after you get a nasty line to deal with. Funnier would be, say, BT12 Metal Grey, this promo Alteris mode, then another Alteris mode, and then you go straight into your X antibody. It's just a funny thing. Finally, we got this crappy Ace and ST15 Metal Grey. Gotta be honest, you only run ST15 because of the Security Attack +1 and the fact it can evo on top of any Greymon level 5 in name. As for the Ace, don't run it, just throw it out the window. We also got a new level 5 in form of BT22 Rise Greymon. This works well with a new Yuko who's best with the Greymon decks that focuses on some sort of redirection style, whether it be raid or blocking. The ability to play any red or black tamer or CS tamer if you have one or less tamers on the board is just a must, with his only downside being a Rise Greymon rather than a Metal Greymon. So playing the X boards may be a bit difficult, but we can use Rise Grey X or just focus on the normal Metal Greys with Rise Greymon for more Security Attack +1s and Tamers. Also, we also got 2 separate Skull Greymons that can help, but only one saw a small success, as it can evo for 3 on a Greymon in name and play an Agumon after a self-deletion. If you have tie, that Agumon will gain Rush. Finally, we got the Megas of the deck, and boy, we got a list. For this specific entry, I'm going to go over 2 of each of the main Greymon Megas that are relevant for this video, as Shine Gray and Blue Flare from earlier are their own beasts, and Victory Greymon just doesn't cut it, unfortunately. Starting with BT12 Wargreymon, an evo costs a 4 on any black level 5 or 3 on a metal Greymon in name. He has Raid and reads, when Digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon gains 3k DP and Reboot. All turns, when attack target is switched, unsuspend this Digimon. Insanely powerful for Slime and can still take a few victories these days, as he's aged pretty well with the new support. He was the one that sparked a second wave for the Greymon meta after Black Wargrey X's, and to this day, if you want to focus on Wargreymon, he's their way for a second chance. His downsides are honestly the fact that he only gains Reboot for the 1 turn, and the whole Metal Greymon thing. Yeah, specifically Metal Greymon for a cost of 3. So if you want to run Rise Greymon or Skull Greymon, he's not a good option, unfortunately. Next, we got BT14 Wargreymon, who can evo on any red level 5 for 4, or any level 5 Greymon in name for 4. Evo reads, while you have a Tamer with Taikami in his name, and your opponent has a Digimon with 10k DP or more, one of your Agumons may Digivolve into this card in your hand for a cost of 4, ignoring the evolution requirements. When Digivolving, this Digimon gains Raid for the turn. Then, it may attack. When attacking, if you have a Tamer, this Digimon gains Secure Attack +1 and Piercing for the turn. I personally like this Wargreymon, as he alone can make an easy boss monster or secondary boss for a Greymon deck, thanks to the getting most of his abilities whenever he attacks and Digivolves, and the ability to Warp Evolve on top of an Agumon if your opponent has a 10k DP on the board. But he has its downsides, as BT12 Wargreymon already has Raid, while this one only gains Raid. And unlike BT12 Wargreymon, this guy doesn't gain Reboot either. I still recommend this for red decks that want to go with 1 huge attack, and it's a good cutback card. Really quick, I am going to mention Wargrey X, who these days just kinda exists. Usually made for an OTK build, but relies on the original X antibody to evolve onto a Wargrey, so you can keep the turn and pop a card. These days, it's just not needed, as the 2 Wargreys I mentioned have Raid and honestly have better effects that linger on rather than this guy. Only run him if you feel nostalgia. Up next is Black Wargreymon side, and we are going to start with the BT8 Black Wargreymon. He is an evo for 4 on both red and black, and reads, when Digivolving, if this Digimon has red evolution sources, choose any number of your opponent's Digimon. If this Digimon has black evolution sources, choose any number of your opponent's Samers. The chosen card's play cost must add up to 6 or less. Delete the chosen cards. All turns, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, you may unsuspend this Digimon. This one was one of the most used Wargreys and had some serious hype, as he might have been the first non-level 7 Digimon that can kill Tamers consistently, especially when we just got off of a meta of hybrid Tamers from this time. Along with having multiple attacks, if he's combo with BT8 Metal Greymon. However, now these days he's too slow, too costly for that 4 cost evo, and he just really doesn't bring much now these days. Easy to prop his Digimon effect, but he even got taken out of his own deck. Only recommend if you want to focus on a Black Wargreymon in particular. Next, we got Black Wargreymon X, who can evo for 5 on any level 5 black or red, or 2 on Black Wargreymon. Has Reboot and reads, opponent's turn. Once per turn, when your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP attacks, you may switch the target of the attack to this Digimon. Opponent's turn, once per turn. When a Digimon becomes unsuspended, if this Digimon has Black Wargreymon or X Antibody's evolution sources, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. This man was once a juggernaut during his time. Not many Digimon during this time could out this man due to his high DP threshold that he would get through his BT11 support, along with the protection and cheap evo throughout the line. He had too many layers of protection to out through effects, and the game was too slow to consistently pop him, even if he had a chance. Along with that devastating effect of popping your opponent's lowest play cost Digimon, if a Digimon unsuspended, which is usually on the reboot phase, where Black Wargrey X will just reboot and kill. Combo with BT8 Metal Grey X is inherited to trash your security. You got a slow killer that constantly controls the board and can out almost anything your opponent has. And at the time, the only way that this guy could be beaten was in the mirror match by Examon, who didn't see much play, or if you had a Black D Digimon being played like Machine Dramon. But as years went by and Greymon X was hit, Black Wargrey X slowly fell out of his own deck, even in a toolbox that would just be used and not in a Black Wargreymon. It's mostly due to him being just too slow for the current play, as the redirect ability became easy to work around. More Digimon have gained protection to avoid deletion, and the protection he would gain would fail due to current decks having easier ways and alternate solutions to get rid of him. Honestly, I don't like running this guy even in a Metal Grey X combo with him, as it's just too slow these days, as he's always a slow burner with the occasional Security Tech +1 thanks to Star Deck Greymon. And if you're running a Black War Tribal deck though, he's still usable in the toolbox, maybe as a single copy, as you're most likely running either X antibody cards thanks to the next Mega Greymon. The only honorable mention I can mention is honestly the original Greymon, which is only here because he can actually evo on top of Black Wargreymon, giving this man two options to evo into. Reboot Security Tech +1 is already good, but combo with Blitz and D-Digimon just made him better and aggressive side of this deck. Sadly, he would phase out of his own deck in favor of Black Wargrey X and BT12 Wargreymon, but would come back in his own Greymon deck from EX4. Briefly mentioned these guys, but the Greymon cards will later be brought up thanks to their more sword and shield-like playstyle, where they will focus on going into EX4 Greymon, who can either trash security or delay a play cost 13 or more on the field. Then, he will evo for free into either of his 13 cost Greymons, all of the ability reboot, and some sort of offensive or defensive effect. The promo has blocker and will taunt an opponent's Digimon to attack so that he blocks the next turn and trash your opponent's top security as an alters effect. So theoretically, Raid can prompt this effect as well. This Greymon is fairly new as he's only been played in Medusamon, but still has room to play in thanks to BT12. Speaking of which, BT12 Greymon, whose main difference is having Raid, and when Digivolving to unsuspend one of your opponent's Digimon so you can Raid into him, then you can gain Piercing and 5k DP for a similar alternates effect. To me, he's kind of one of the weaker Greymons alone, but the cool thing is that none of these guys need a prior Mega or an X antibody option card to gain these effects. In fact, running the X antibody cards, only Protoform actually benefits these guys. But the only reason it's relevant to talk about these guys is thanks to the new tamer, Yuko, from BT12, who reads, Security, play this card without paying the cost. Start your main phase. If your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1 memory. All turns, when the attack target changes by suspending this tamer for the turn, your opponent's Digimon's effects don't affect one of your Digimon Greymon in its name or Cyber Sleuth trait, and it gains 3k DP. I'm going to skip the inheritance because that's for Eater stuff. And this is why I think Greymon deck is relevant to talk about again. As I mentioned, the majority of the Megas in their lines all revolve around DP increase or attack switching. Combo them with Yuko and you get a near unstoppable Greymon with a crap ton of DP and a Digimon effect immunity, and it's an all turn, so this combo works well when you block too. Now, this does rely on initiating Raid or Blocker, but the deck has gotten easier on prompting these effects, and Yuko is easier to use when you Raid. So yeah, Yuko to me is probably going to define a new meta for Greymon toolbox decks, especially since the new EX10 cards are going all in with the redirect playstyle that I honestly really like. However, her main downside is this is a Yuko tamer, not a Tai Kamiya. As mentioned, most of the Greymon line revolves around Tai Kamiya, where playing them for free or just getting extra effects. If you only have Yuko, it's fine if you go into Greymon, but if you try to go into like specific Greymon cards like Wargreymon to Warp Evo, it won't work. The remainder of the tamers are all Tai Kamiyas that are either black or red. There are 2 memory setter ties. One is the red one that gives Security Tech +1 if you have a red Digimon with 4 or more sources, and the black one gives 2k DP and draw 1 if one of your Digimon attack is switched. For these, it depends on what color you want to focus on, so both options are actually pretty good. Then we got BT12 and BT14. BT12 gives one of your Agumons or Greymons 1k DP blocker and gain 1 memory if you evo into Greymon or Omnimon, while BT14 gives a Vaccine Digimon 2k DP, and when security is removed, gain 1 memory. And BT12 tie has consistently been the best tie used in both versions, if not and almost any version of the Greymon toolbox deck, Has free memory when evolving, and that 1k DP and blocker since most of the Greymons either have reboots easily or can be aggressive in one turn, then reboot with blocker to increase pressure. BT14 is just only used in the red tribal deck, and even then not really needed as the memory gain is too slow to rely on, and the deck has other ways to gain DP, especially since half the deck can be a virus instead of vaccine trait. So it can backfire, and if you just want memory, you just go with BT12 time. Finally, we got the option cards, but honestly only 2 here since one is still relevant and the other one's just important due to history. Also, it's Wargreymon's main attack, so I might as well mention it. Gaia Force, a cost 8 red option card that just simply reads, delete an opponent's Digimon. Same with the security effect. This was once a staple in red decks, as a simple deletion meant a lot, and the 8 cost used to be worth it back in the day. Nowadays, it just kinda sucks and 8 is too much. But later on, a better version known as Hades Force will appear, which is a cost 7 or 5 if you have an X Digimon with X antibody in its evolution source. Main, choose any number of your opponent's Digimon and or Tamers whose combined play costs are less than or equal to the play cost of one of your Digimon with Greymon's name, and delete all the chosen cards. Then, one of your Digimon with Greymon's name may attack a player. Security effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. And yep, this was Crossheart and Hunter's worst nightmare. You may only use this to win the game or obliterate their tamer, so there's little to come back from. This card was argued to be so bad since it can be easily played for just a 5 cost if you have X antibody underneath the source, and an attack after resolving the effect for just extra aggression. Its downside is you need a Greymon on the board in order to actually use the card, along with you need a black and red source to activate it. But more often than not, it's still worth running at least 1 copy in the Greymon deck, as long as you have access to both colors. Last honorable mentions goes to Mega Flame, Dragon of Courage, and Breakthrough of Courage, as each of these are a part of the archetype and can help through easy removal, warp digivolving, and effect immunity. But are usually run as single copies if played at all. They are also very niche, but good to consider. There is Air Dragons, but the Greymon part isn't even that relevant, and the Trident Gaia is just a better version of the original Gaia Force, but only really runs in the deck if you want strong removal and you have some space. And that's the entire Greymon package. Now, I have some cards I didn't mention, but I want to sleep, man, so I won't go over those. With at least a mention of Agumon Ace and these Omnimons that are very good finishers in case you want to run a level 7. The Greymon Toolbox deck saw success as a Blackwork Greymon deck around BT11 with mild success on BT8. But we'll have a second wave of success on BT12 thanks to the combination from BT11-8 and previous Wargrade decks that also can be blended into the deck. BT12 could have been stronger, but they had to nerf BT11 Greymon X due to an easy evo cost of 2 and potentially evo to 1 into Metal Greymon due to the reduction ability was just too strong. After BT12, the Greymon deck will slowly leave the meta scene due to newer decks or older decks gaining newer support to change the meta, and the Greymon Toolbox deck had a rough time catching up. Then, once BT14 came out, along with the starter deck 15 and 16, the game gained new devs that wanted to give the game a soft reboot and change the design of some decks and cards so the game would be more appealing for beginners, as the game was getting a little too complicated as it went on. Because of this, Greymon will be split back into either a black or red decks where they focus on specific strategies depending on their color, but they will receive an alternative black evo condition, so you can actually mix and match these new cards. The issue with this was support cards like Mem Boost and Trains only work for one color at the time, making it difficult to mix the 2 color decks without losing consistency. Leaving a new issue of which base you prefer to focus on, which no matter what you pick, you will have to sacrifice some strategies for the decks, like BT12 Time for red decks and BT14 Agumon for black decks. And this will continue until the reveal of Garnet Memboost, which can activate by either color and can add either color Digimon. However, this will introduce new problems of searching tamers and option cards, thanks to the lack of trainings and use of scrambles are both good in a monocolored deck, but not good in a combined colored deck. This leads to diverse selection of Greymon cards to go through, and honestly this all leads down to your playstyle of the game to figure out what's the best Greymon deck. I had a hard time making example decks for this, as I actually prefer a mix of the 2 sides thanks to Garnet and Yuko making it possible with the Sword and Shield style I like to play. But to sum it up, a red focus deck prefers an OTK strategy where you make a single stack in the back with a shit ton of DP along with additional ways to gain secure attack +1, and a bunch of training and scrambles to make one big ass swing, then Omnimon for game. However, this deck lacks flexibility as it just only focuses on OTK strats, and if that fails, GG. Black likes to focus on being a control-based strategy where you use a combination of raid and blocker to interact with the opponent's Digimon to steal memory and gain DP, making it difficult to delete your stack. The problem here is that it focuses too much on interaction, as your opponent can easily make a strong stack in the back, and if you start too soon, and easily disrupt your board since a control strat needs precise timing to work. If you're just too impatient, then GG. That's why I like combining the two strats from the aggression damage from the red side with the control from black, making a sword and shield tactic that's easy to switch from offense to defense, vice versa thanks to reboot and DP. Downside here is you sacrifice consistency. As mentioned before, despite having the ability to use Garnet, the deck can't use trainings and scrambles like the mono decks and can lose tamers and option cards because of this. After testing the decks out, and sorry I can only get bots to fight, but I still got results. Each of the decks are very strong on their own right, but they feel like they have more than what they can do. They seem to be very restricted thanks to their colors. Now, even with the monocolor advantages with training and scrambles, they still have issues getting the right pieces at the right time when needed, and that's more of a red curse thing. I don't know why this happens. Along with that, the deck also lacks consistent protection. Sure, we got Yuko, but it doesn't have battle protection, and there can always be option cards. But what each deck fails at is corrected with their opposite color, and vice versa. I believe the Greymon tribal deck will benefit more from a combined deck of aggression and control. But as their monocolor sells, they can still work thanks to better use of search cards than a dual color Greymon deck and can use. In the end, I would say how you play the deck depends on your own personal playstyle. If you like OTKs, go ahead, red tribal is perfect, or black tribal for a bit of control. Monocolored decks do really well in their own strategies. It just really sucks when you try and make them a bit more flexible outside of it. Either way, the entire engine will get a huge boost in the power thanks to the upcoming EX10 Black Wargreymon line, combo with the new Yuko to heighten the redirection playstyle that I believe will take Greymon decks to a whole new level to match with the current decks. What do you think about this? Is it possible for Greymon Tribal to come back to the meta with a new support, or will it fall to at least rogue status? What's your favorite playstyle, and what cards did I miss that can actually heighten the decks to a higher status? Go ahead and comment down below and maybe suggest another deck to cover for the next video. Until then, see ya!